Well, from racing in Baltimore, Maryland to racing at Rosehill yesterday, the celebration of the centenary of the famous old track. Johnny and Gail Jarvis, you were out there too.
Oh, what a day it was, Michael. In fact, there were some, whose names we won't mention at this stage, who were sartorially splendid. Johnny, you just looked $1 million yesterday.
Thank you, sweetie. You're a good judge. Gail, the ladies were absolutely stunning. The clobber, for want of a better expression, worn by the females of the late 19th century, looked heavy and cumbersome to some degree, but beautiful nevertheless.
I tell you what, it was a sight in the powder room at Rosehill yesterday as they all walked in with their great hoops around the skirts.
I spoke to one lady during the day and I said, do you enjoy getting dressed up like that? Is it fun? She said, it's a hell of a job to go to the toot.
It was for
and
all
I suppose, you know, there were disadvantages.
Absolutely, but what a great promotion it was. I mean, the STC really did itself well yesterday. They just looked sensational, the ladies and the men, including yourself, looking $1 million, as I said. They were just terrific, hundreds of them. 400 people turned up in these great old outfits. Really was a wander back into yesterday, wasn't it?
If you could just obliterate the smokestacks and the industrial background from view and use your imagination a little bit, you could well have been in the last century.
And as I said, did they pay out in LSD and sovereigns, or was it still dollars and cents?
Still dollars and cents. That was the only thing missing.
I don't think they were paying out at all. But why don't we have a look at what they actually looked like yesterday? So I don't have any idea. Not a costume shop or a theatrical wardrobe left unscathed. The Sydney racing fraternity steps out in style. And while the moths went hungry for the day, about 400 punters and assorted friends descended onto Sydney's old mortuary station for a train ride down memory lane. The Sydney Turf Club was getting all steamed up about its favourite racetrack. Rosehill had cracked the century, and what a great excuse to roll out those old glad rags. While it may not have been exactly as it was a century ago, it was pretty close to the mark.
Everybody seems to be so courteous today as well. All the gentlemen have been saying good morning to us and we've been curtsying. And somebody said to me earlier, one of the other guests said to me earlier that it seems to have, she thinks it's a good example for young racegoers because everyone looks so feminine.
It's not just a matter of the costumes though, I mean all the accessories.
Well, they've improvised, haven't they? So everyone's keeps telling us what they've made it out of, you see. They've cut up this and cut up that.
Yes, we just met a lady with lace gloves on, but she confessed to us that they were really socks. Lace socks, so she just cut the fingers out and put them on as gloves, which we thought was quite clever.
And don't think it was just the ladies who made an effort. For every bustle and bow, there was an equally dapper top hat and tails. In fact, all the fashion flowers flaunted their finery.
And Wayne is wearing the colours made legendary by Farlap, the red with the black and white hoop sleeves and the red cap.
Even the horses sported the most famous of the old racing colours as they lined up for the past champions sprint, a tribute to old greats like Farlap and Carbine. From a flag start and with some of the jockeys riding long stirrup, it was the gloaming ring-in who took the honours.
Gloaming, sweeping past the mighty Farlap. Todman is battling on strongly, but look at Gloaming go. I didn't think he was this good. Gloaming is careering away to win the past champion sprint by 3 lengths to Farlap.
It was a nostalgic race for me because our first race meeting I went was Ellerslie, I'm a New Zealander, was a New Zealander born, was in Auckland in 1921, and it featured the champion racehorse of the day, Gloaming. So seeing Gloaming win this race today brought back a little bit of the past for me, a long while ago.
And while fashions and facilities may change, you can always bet on one thing remaining the same. Chances of picking a winner today are no better than they were a century ago. Great sight it was, a great promotion also by your radio station 2UE. Had a lot to do with that yesterday.
Yep, they sure did. You know, Gail and Mike, I don't know if I'm a bit of an old sentimentalist or something, and I shouldn't say this, the racing blue bloods will kill me. That was a better meeting than the Golden Slipper.
You're kidding?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was a beauty. The only thing I was a little peeved about was the fact that I was stuck in that commentary box all day and couldn't partake of the bubbly.
You couldn't go and show everyone what you were wearing. That's what the problem was. You wanted to go and stroll around the course, didn't you?
It was a really good day.
Well, some of the punters, the luck they have, I mean, I'm surprised some of them got any new clothes anyway, Johnny. I mean, a few of them, to me, always look as though they're wearing period dress anyway.
Old suits,
yeah.
You're quite right. You know, a gentleman called Don McKinnon wrote a piece called A Centenary Salute, all of which was published in the race book yesterday, and he summed it up with a couple of beautiful lines. He said it was a time to praise public and punter, whose surge and splurge, whose hush and howl are the hallmarks of any great racecourse. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
That's not the Don McKinnon who plays for North.
No, he's not that versatile. OK, talking about the real action for the real racing people, and I mean the hardened punter, let's have a look at some of the real McCoys yesterday. The first leg of the Daily Double was called the Launceston Casino Handicap, and strike me pink, do you think this wasn't a finish? The judge had a hell of a job trying to separate 3 horses, and this was as close to a triple dead heat as you'll ever get, the margins being a nose by a nose. The roughie in the field, Prince Celsius, leads them into the straight over Vain Carrioi. Now, the horse behind the leaders with the black cap is All Chant, who can't go anywhere at the moment. Now there's a split presenting itself. Further out, the grey horse in the black cap is The Challenge, and on his outside in orange colours with the grey cap is the heavily backed favourite Vari's Ace. He started 15 to 8 and he's struggling at that point. Now, what's the grey with the black cap, The Challenge? Under the whip, he's not doing much. The boy Bravado decides to put the Persuader away here in a moment. He stops using the cane and sits down to ride hands and heels. Now, when he does, The Challenge starts to race better. Langby throwing everything at Vain Carrioi in the red colours. All Chant on the inside. Now The Challenge, hands and heels in the last 50 metres, is coming at the other pair, and the 3 of them go over the line absolutely locked together, and it was a wing dinger. The Challenge got there by a nose to Vain Carrioi in the centre, with All Chant a nose away third. The main race of the day was the Tui's, or one of the main races, the Tui's Draft Handicap. This horse, Guria, loves to lead in his races, you know. If he's left alone and can dictate his own terms, he's invariably very hard to run down, and that's how it worked out yesterday. He led clearly on the turn into the straight over Gone Troppo. The old horse running third on the rails with the black cap is Peninsula, who'll be voting this year, and further back is the favourite Spend the Money, the grey horse with the yellow cap, and he's well and truly beaten. Guria gets his second wind and off he goes. 4 lengths in front of Peninsula. Germanic with the white nose roll. The horse with the all pink sneaking through on the inside rail is a Neddy called Heroic Blaze, and he's not far off a win. I like the way he went home in the last bit, but it's all Guria with the blinkered hood going to the line very strongly, and he goes on to score at 33 to 1. The bookies were all smiles. Heroic Blaze got second, and Germanic was in third place. They were the 2 highlights, 2 of the many highlights at Rosehill yesterday. Now, let's go to Morfettville in South Australia. There was a big race called the Goodwood Handicap highlighting yesterday's program. $100,000 in prize money. Pat Hyland rides the winner of the race, Mighty Avenger, and Pat must have had mixed feelings going to the barrier, because just on a year ago he suffered a very nasty fall over this big carnival. He came back 4 months later to win the Caulfield Cup on Affinity, and he's won the Goodwood Handicap yesterday. Good luck to Pat Hyland. Ron Paps is your commentator.
To go, and Kamala King just the leader. From the West Aussie, Colpack on the inside and going up to those show ports. Cindy Harbour looking for a run through. Regal Advice improves to about 4th and 5th. Danish Saint was next. Mighty Avengers out wide. Then Wise Call in the straight. Kamala King just the leader. Colpack getting a run between them. Cindy Harbour. Regal Advice got checked out, and Mighty Avenger joins them all out wide. He's coming home like a train. Mighty Avenger races up with a good weight, and he's beaten them off in a twinkling. And Mighty Avenger will claim the centenary running of the Goodwood Handicap at Morfettville. He's down on the line, wins it well. 2.5 the Danish Saint, second, third Cindy Harbour.
Good call by Ron Paps, a great win by Mighty Avenger. Now the Van Heusen Handicap in Melbourne.
Coming to the 400, he shot 2.5 lengths in front of Ranger's Son. A length affected, starting to run on now, and then Ripper's Dream, followed by Mr. Nayab running on very strongly from Gun Hill. They've grabbed Albany Bay quickly. Ranger's Son swept to the lead on the corner from Affected. Mr. Nayab running on strongly, trying to get a split in the centre. Ranger's Son led 2 lengths Affected into the straight. Mr. Nayab getting out near the inside. Ranger's Son clear. Mr. Nayab under the whip. The danger coming out after him from Affected. Ranger's Son in front. Mr. Nayab quickly picking him up near the line. Ranger's Son grabbed by Mr. Nayab in the shadows of the post, and Mr. Nayab gets up to beat Ranger's Son and neck. Third Affected.
Mr. Nabe started at 13-2, beating Ranger's Son and Defected. Well, there was a big shock in the Queensland Oaks. The odds-on favourite, Our Sophia, is beaten by the Neville Begg-trained Tristram Rose.
Up to make a line of 3. Tristram Rose went up 4th, and then Prospect Ridge and Veet Miel in the straight with 400 metres to go, and Our Sophia went to the lead, a length and a half. Tristram Rose. Veet Miel moved to 3rd on the outside, and then coming Prospect Ridge. About 250 metres to go, and Our Sophia the leader, only a length over. Tristram Rose coming out after the favourite, wide out Veet Miel. Our Sophia forward on a half length. Tristram Rose, Veet Miel on the outside. Our Sophia and Tristram Rose. Our Sophia's just in front. Tristram Rose is coming at it, heads up, heads down, dead heat, dead heat. Our Sophia and Tristram Rose in a dead heat for mine, I can't split them. 3rd, Veet Miel.
Alan Thomas, your commentator. Tristram Rose got the decision at 9-2. Our Sophia started at 9-4 on, and Wayne Harris rode the winner, rounding off an enormous week because the previous Saturday he won the South Australian Derby. Where do you think our globe-trotting girlfriend Gail Jarvis is going this week?
Well, she's been to the best. She's been to the Mossman rowing club this morning. I can't think of anywhere bigger.
She's going to Peak Hill in the midwest of New South Wales. What the hell for?
You know what for, because you've put me into this. I'm going to go and drive horses from Peaks Hill, Mick, Gibbo.
Trotting.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Harness horses. Big picnic day up at Peaks Hill.
All right,
so
well, good
we're
luck.
up there. Big challenge with Channel 8, Orange.
Okay, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Hopefully I'll get back.
Thanks for being with us. Stick around. Coming up shortly, we'll be crossing to Perth for Kim Hughes' news conference this afternoon. Plus, in a moment, yesterday's footy action.